Grippo, I guess, will be joining us late. So we will get started. Good evening, everyone. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, was provided through the posting, mailing, and filing of the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings of the Town Council on December 13, 2022. The notice was, on that date, posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, provided to the Westfield Leader and the Star Ledger, and filed with the clerk of the town of Westfield. Ms. Lawshe, may I have a roll call?
Mayor Brindle?
Here.
Councilmember Chapman?
Here.
Marmalade? Here. Grippo? Pats?
Here.
Mackey?
Here.
Contract?
Here.
Guardia?
Here.
Here.
Please rise for the invocation, which we give my councilman contract, and remain standing for this salute.
Today, may we be open to others' ideas and beliefs, respectful of our differences, not threatened by them. May we grow in understanding of our own motives, knowing that people often act out of their own fears. May we be a force for replacing fear with insight, helping us all be patient and kind as we talk. Strength, real strength, can always find compromise. Working together, may we find a common ground, enable us to move forward with a shared purpose. May we see what is truly important and unites us, focusing on that, to banish roadblocks of ego and fear today. May we be open to others' ideas and beliefs. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you. So we'll start. Jim, do you have any comments, updates this evening?
I do, Mayor. A couple updates on a few items. So just a couple updates this time of year. Leaf collection season is right around the corner. As usual, the leaf collection brochure will be mailed out later this week. Be posted on our website, social media items as well. The program, again, we had such great success with it last year. We're going to mirror the program again as it was last year, where we will start November 6th with collection and run through December 16th and working every single Saturday. That worked very well last year, so the crews were able to get to the areas they can't get to during the week, school areas, etc. And we were able to finish the pickup in that time frame last year with a few extra days beyond that. We will also be giving out free leaf bags again. Those are already at the center. We'll be able to start handing those out the next week. And again, the last thing is we're going to do the same thing we did last year as well with the Nixle alerts. So they'll go out the evening before, so people have a chance to move their car before the crews come down the street. Worked very well last year. So, and I just want to thank DPW ahead of time. They really did a great job last year. And again, the leaves fall different every year. They fall early, they fall late, but right now we're hoping that everything works out well. We'll give updates every single meeting as necessary. But follow Nixle, follow the website, and you'll get updates. But Public Works is eager to go. Also, tax bills have been mailed out for the fourth quarter. They should have hit your mailbox already. And of course, they're due November 1st with a 10-day grace period. And thank you to everybody that's already paid. And so that's just a reminder. Also, paving. So paving, we discussed this a few times at the microphone. The town's various road contract is complete, which included all the roads we decided to pave this year. That road contract is complete. What's still pending on the town side, we have two state aid projects, one for Elmer Street in the entire length, and one for Summit Avenue from Park to Clifton, which we are still awaiting the state's approval, which then will allow us to go out to bid and then award a contract and get something, get a vendor here to start the paving. So we hope to get an answer later this week, which will allow us to get a bid out and then hopefully award something early November. And depending on weather, we may be able to get something done. You know, in the past, we've done paving as late as late December, late November, early December, depending on weather. But that's where we are with those two road jobs, and those are state-funded road jobs. Also, the town's not doing it directly, but we partnered with the county to pave East Broad Street from Euclid to North Avenue. And the county has a lot of paving on their docket. We're one of those projects. So we're waiting for an update from them on when they're going to start that. The handicap ramps, if you remember, a few weeks back, have already been done. So now it's a matter of milling and paving and striping. And there's a lot of striping on that stretch in the downtown area. So once we get an update on that, we will advise the public and let everybody know. Again, for road paving, nixle updates and so forth. Keep on looking for that. Lastly, utility work. Most of the utility roads have been completed. They are still doing some infrastructure work on some of the roads, such as house connections. I think of Coolidge Avenue. I talked to them last week. They're doing house connections on Coolidge still. Once that's complete, that and a few other streets will be set for paving, milling and paving, and we're hoping to get that done this year. So once we get an update on that from them on schedule, we'll let everybody know as well. But again, there's been an extraordinary amount of paving done this year, and hopefully some more to be finished before year's end. Lastly, from me, Mayor, our favorite topic, PSE&G project, the pole project, 69 kV on Central and South Avenues. The Central Avenue project, as we know, major inconvenience for the road closures that have been happening on Central. There's two pieces of the project that are working simultaneously. One is the tree work, which includes removals and trimming along the route, which has started down by the Central Avenue Bridge by Virginia Street and is working its way up. The tree removal crews now are in the area of Pearl Street and moving towards, continuing to move towards South Avenue. Chief Battledore and I had a call today with PSE&G to ask, get a few things squared away. The tree crew is got about a week and a half left of removals and about another week beyond that of trimming. Reminder, just so the public knows, that all of the trimming they do must meet the standards set by the BPU to make sure the lines are clear, and they're doing that. Greg O'Neill from our Public Works Department has been in touch with them and rode the route with them multiple times. In addition to that, removals, while some removals are necessary, they are replacing every removal 2 for 1. So 2 new trees go in for every 1 that comes out. And we're working with them, with Greg O'Neill, about types of species that are appropriate for that street side trees. The pole work is also going on simultaneously, a number of blocks down, and that's the new poles going in, and then lines being transferred, PSE&G lines being transferred to new poles. The telecom companies, Verizon and Comcast, will follow to move their lines over, then the old pole will be removed. So that process continues on. They're further down, like 4 or 5 blocks separated from the tree crew. And lastly, the detours, which is what we're hearing about in that area. So Chief Battledore and I, again, spoke to PSE&G today. We've asked them, and they've agreed to provide more officers at their expense, not just for the detour itself on Central Avenue, which they have a company, and we've been assisting with that, but more so in the neighborhoods that are being traveled, because basically we need some traffic direction in some of those, beyond the stop sign, controlled intersections. That's not working as well when you have a high volume of traffic with larger vehicles coming down. So we've asked them to provide at their expense more officers in the neighborhood to direct traffic and get the traffic flowing properly, and also enhance safety for the residents of the neighborhood. So they've agreed to do that to that today, and so we're happy. It's a major inconvenience, we know, but the police department is doing everything they can every day to make sure it's moving as good as possible and enhancing safety in those neighborhoods. So those are my quick updates for now, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Jim. Sure.
Sure.
So can you just describe what is getting closed on Central? Like,
Sure.
are they closing a whole side of the street? And
Yeah,
is
no,
it
good point.
all day, part of the day? Like, I'm getting a ton of emails about this.
Sure.
And I just don't feel like me as the councilman.
Yeah. So, no, that's a good question. So the tree work, for example, is shutting the road, a section of the road. Removals require both sides of the road to be closed, all right, because of the equipment that's there, the boom trucks and so forth, special equipment they bring in. So when a tree removal is being done, the road is closed completely both ways. And they're working from 9 to 2, and that's to avoid the peak travel time in the morning in school, after school. And trimming only requires one side of the street to be closed, and that'll be happening starting next week after the removals are finished on the Central Avenue portion. In reference to the pole work,
Is trimming also 9 to 2?
yes, 9 to 2, yes. All the tree work's 9 to 2. The pole work, a few blocks down, because of the type of equipment and the large poles they have to get in, that also necessitates 2 sides of the road being closed. That is 9 to 2. Same time, but then to get moving and wrap up the pole work, because of the nature of the night type of work, they come back from about 3:30 to 6. That will be also ending that last piece, because daylight savings time is coming soon. They really can't work in the dark. So that's probably about 2 weeks left, 2.5 weeks left of that time. But so it's 9 to 2 tree work every day, 9 to 2, and then 4 to 6 or 3 to 6 for pole work. Okay.
And do we know on this pole replacement how long that's going to take? Because the tree, it sounds like 2 to 3
The pole replacement is gonna be continuing up Central. They're doing, you know, what they described to us today, they're getting about 1 to 2 poles a day, and that includes the installation of the pole and the transfer of the lines to the new poles, PSE&G lines only. And that's working pretty fast, and that's with good weather. They're not gonna be working bad weather, not gonna work in wind conditions, and not gonna work when there's dark out. So probably what'll end up happening is the next 2 to 3 weeks, that will continue. Then we'll revert to 9 to 2 for pole work as well, as long as they can work. And then, you know, but they plan on working. Remember what we've said up front, what they told us up front, this is a 9-month project end to end, meaning central to south and central to the Scotch Plains border. So we're in month 1. Yes. But a lot of this is the, you know, central and south are, as we know, very busy roads. The pole work along south has a wider road than central. That'll be a little different situation because it won't be necessarily require as many street closures and detours. And the tree removal and trimming work likely can be done where at least 1 lane's open or there's 2 lanes on one side of the street. So it'll be, central's in many cases very thin compared to South Avenue, so.
I think
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. So I just have a few additional comments regarding this evening. I just want to remind everybody that public comment is only accepted in person, and we're live streaming on Facebook. And as always, the replay is available on Facebook, YouTube, and TV 36. So before discussing anything about tonight's agenda, I do want to cover a few areas of public interest. First and foremost, the absolute atrocities we have seen unfold in Israel over the past few days are top of mind. Everybody up on this dais here right now have just come from the vigil at Temple Emmanuel, where the community came together to pray for the people of Israel, as well as for our Jewish friends and neighbors here at home. I want our Jewish community to know, and I reiterate it tonight, that we are here for you. We unequivocally denounce these acts of hatred and terrorism. We stand in solidarity and grief with you, and we will not ever allow anti-Semitism to be a part of Westfield. The great people of this town have shown time and again, under many difficult circumstances, that we hold one another up and we don't tolerate hate speech or acts of bias of any kind. You are all in our hearts and our prayers, and we will always continue to advocate for the safety and equality of our entire community. I did want to address the fact I have received emails, many emails, from members of the community regarding public posts made by Board of Education member Sahar Aziz. While this elected body has no oversight of the Board of Education, I do want to make clear that I agree with the many residents who reached out about Ms. Aziz's disturbing and hurtful comments. I believe there is a way to show empathy for the plight of the Palestinian people while also unequivocally condemning the outrageous acts of terrorism being committed against Israel by the terrorist group Hamas. As disturbing as her comments are, however, they are protected by her right to free speech. Some have suggested that I am somehow responsible for Ms. Aziz being in office or assisted in some way, which is unequivocally not true. As an elected official, only the voters make that decision. Since this matter is one that can only be addressed by the Board of Education, I will not be making any further public comment beyond what I've expressed tonight. So on another sad note, I do want to acknowledge the recent passing of Norm Greco, who was quite a well-known figure in our town, a lifelong resident of Westfield, also a successful entrepreneur, importantly a dedicated public servant. Norm served as Ward 1 councilman for 3 terms, as well as deputy mayor. He was also the president of the Westfield Chamber of Commerce, and he made an indelible mark on downtown Westfield through the many commercial properties he owned and businesses he ran. Our hearts go out to Norm's family, especially his wife Carol, as we remember him fondly for his commitment to our community. On a separate note, as I mentioned in my update on Friday, I am grateful and received, like many of us have, many emails of concern and support from parents in the Washington school community after one of their crossing guards, Bob Lewis, has been placed on temporary leave by ACMS, who runs the crossing guard program, along with 3 other guards following a functional capacity evaluation. Bob is a beloved member of the Washington school community, who I have personally known for over 20 years. And funny, there's 4 of us Washington parents on the dais tonight. Councilpersons Hapgood, Darty, and Parmalee all had Bob cross our kids to school, And my kids, and I don't know if yours do, still display the hand-carved wooden nameplates he gave each of them upon graduation. So we are all very well aware of Bob's contributions to the Washington school community and the greater Westfield, and how beloved he is by us and everyone. But because we've received so many questions about it, I actually am going to ask Jim to come up and just provide a bit of context for what has transpired, since Bob is an employee of ACMS and not the municipality. So Jim, if you just want to make a few comments.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So just about ACMS and Bob, you mentioned it, four guards that went through a functional capacity evaluation last week. So just a reminder, ACMS manages our crossing guard program. They've done it for 4 years. This is their 5th school year doing it. They've been a tremendous asset, allowing the police department to do police work. And that's kind of one of the main reasons we brought them on. As part of their public safety initiative for their employees and for the public, when they make observations, they do functional capacity evaluations for employees they have concerns about. And this is not something that's uncommon. The town uses FCE evaluations, functional capacity evaluations for employees when coming off workers' comp, when seeing observations of employees that need to be able to do their job. So it's not unusual that this happens. Of course, it's a surprise. You don't know about it and it comes up, but it's not an unusual thing. So again, these evaluations are standard practice. FCEs include looking at various items, including strength, agility, various other things that they look at based upon the job description for the employee, so they can actually determine whether that person is capable of doing the job. I know I read somewhere over the weekend that there's suggestions that somehow the exam is just standing on one foot and walking in a line. That is not the case whatsoever. It's about 12 or 13 different things they have to actually do, and then they pass some, they can fail some, but there's a determination by the company to see what they're capable of, and then they have the opportunity to be retested. So in this particular case, their safety compliance team was out doing reviews of all the posts. They observed 4 particular concerns at 4 posts, hence requiring the need for FCE evaluations for these 4 employees. When they were unsuccessful in their FCE, they were placed on temporary paid leave. So the idea in the public that these 4 employees were automatically terminated is not true. That did not happen. They were placed on administrative leave, paid administrative leave, and offered the opportunity to retest at some point. When you do an FCE, you do an FCE with one evaluator. He or she does the evaluation, and then they make a time in the future after the employee is, maybe time to work on a few things. They have a different evaluator comes back. So it's independent perspective of someone coming back a second time. So again, like many other residents and on the dais here and council members, I also know Bob Lewis. My kids did not go to Washington School, but Bob's been a crossing guard here for decades. I know Bob for a long time as a guard here in town. I also know one of the other guards who also did not pass the FCE, who was actually a former police officer here. But basically, everyone gets the emotional connection to their guard, their school. In my case, my kids walked to Franklin School, and our favorite guard was Jessica. That's our guard. That's our person. My kids loved her. And so I get, and we all get, the emotional connection that there is with guards. But the one thing to say is that, the whole job description for crossing guard is just that, of public safety. That's what the whole position is all about. And basically, this kind of testing and attention to safety is exactly why we hired ACMS, to be able to focus on these things. These are things we couldn't focus on. Police were being pulled in 20 different directions, and we were trying to fill posts was our biggest concern, not actually filling posts, evaluating if the right person at the right post, if they can do the job. Crossing guards, I'm on the Joint Insurance Fund on behalf of the town of Westfield. I've spent a lot of time over my years on residual claims fund meetings, workers' comp cases around the country, or around the Northeast in this case, but crossing guard jobs and DPW jobs are actually 2 of the most dangerous jobs in the entire country. You might think it's police and fire, and they're also dangerous. But actually, because of the nature of the job, they're most dangerous in the entire country. And so ACMS has been laser focused, in our time at least, our information with them, or our time with them, on employee safety and children's safety. That's what their whole job is about. And in this case, the police chief and I and the police department, Sergeant Ostrander, continue to be in contact with ACMS about these 4 guards particularly. FCEs are done across the country for all of their guards at various times. and that'll probably continue here as well. And we're, to see what the next steps are, we're in touch with them to see what the next steps are for this process. And I want the public to know, especially the Washington school community, that I've made a point to make sure that ACMS and the person that I speak to knows the outpouring of love and support for Bob Lewis and his service at Washington. So that's not lost on them. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that everyone's tested properly and it comes back in as safe as possible. But I understand the emotional connection, but again, they are not; these guards are not technically our employees, but we do care about them as the ACMS does, and we're going to do everything we can to have Bob and any other of the 3 guards, not just Bob. If they want to be retested, we will do that at a proper time by a separate evaluator, and then we'll be able to see how they can get back to working. So.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep, no problem.
Yep,
Thank you.
appreciate
Sure.
that. So shifting gears, I actually do have some very good news to announce this evening. Tonight, we will vote on a resolution authorizing a settlement with Westfield Senior Citizens Housing, a positive outcome of litigation that has been pending since 2021. As part of the settlement agreement, a payment of $3.65 million will be made immediately to the town upon signing, inclusive of legal fees and costs incurred. Both parties agreed to a mutual dismissal of all pending litigation, and the town will enter into new 30-year lease agreements with Westfield Senior Housing Corporation with the option of 4 or 5-year renewals. The leases for both buildings at 1133 and 1129 Boynton Avenue are retroactive to October 1st of this year, just last week. The initial ground leases call for $675,000 in total annual payments to the town, subject to annual 2.25% escalations, which reflects a substantial increase in payments from the 2 ground leases from 1976 and 1993, which are being replaced, and that had specified payments based upon revenues. This is a big win for our beloved senior citizen community as well as for the taxpayers of Westfield. The settlement ensures that seniors remain securely in their housing with the continuity of services, as has always been our steadfast commitment. And it enables Westfield Senior Housing to remain as the long-standing providers of the important services they've successfully delivered to their residents. The $3.65 million payment will represent a substantial revenue influx into our municipal budget, allowing us additional flexibility to manage our tax rate and to continue making prudent investments that benefit all Westfield taxpayers, including the acceleration of capital improvements. So I'd like to thank Councilman Hapgood and Councilman Parmalee for their ongoing work to reach this settlement. It's been a long road, along with Town Administrator Jim Gilday and Town Attorney Tom Jardine, who I have to give he and Scott Salmon big hats off to for the incredible amount of due diligence that was involved in this litigation. We are very, very pleased with the outcome of the settlement, the terms of which are available to the public, and we look forward to a long, productive, and positive relationship with Westfield Senior Housing for at least the next 30 years. I'm also pleased to report that tonight we are voting on a resolution authorizing a settlement agreement with AT&T for the cell tower to be placed in the Conservation Center following the successful resolution of related litigation. As I previously spoke on this topic, both wireless carriers and residents alike have repeatedly cited a need to improve cellular service in the southwest section of town. This area has been identified as having wireless service gaps, specifically in the interiors of homes and buildings, including the schools, a concern we hear increasingly from residents. Additionally, boosting coverage in this area would improve the reliability of our emergency response network for our first responders. But for us, I think the most exciting part of this project is that it allows us to more expediently address long-standing issues at Houlihan Sidfay Field. The lack of adequate parking, a restroom, ADA compliance at the facility. In return for allowing a party to install a cell tower, the town is requiring a $100,000 donation to our Parks Improvement Fund, which will offset some of our costs for these necessary improvements. We believe it's an innovative solution to solve these issues at little to no cost to taxpayers, in addition to annual lease payments for the use of the property. So an RFP for the Houlihan Sidfay improvements is being prepared and will go out in the next few weeks, with work anticipated to begin next spring. Long overdue to finally get bathrooms at Houlihan Sidfay and improve the parking and challenges and the safety issues that presents. And just speaking of recreation facility upgrades, I do want to remind everybody, Election Day is only 4 weeks away. The deadline for voter registration in Union County is Tuesday, October 17th. Those eligible to vote can apply online, by mail, and in person. And for those who are registered, vote by mail ballots began arriving in mailboxes last week. I already submitted mine, turned it into the collection box at the county clerk's office. And as I mentioned, be sure not to overlook public question number 1, which is the Edison Fields referendum, which is to the right of the ballot. And so if you're not looking for it, it can be easily missed. So please be on the lookout for that. You can find all of the information about the Edison Fields project, including updated FAQs specific to the referendum, financing details, environmental approval requirements on our website, westfieldnj.gov/Edison Fields project. I also encourage everyone to watch the candidates forum that's being hosted this Thursday evening here in the council chambers. I think it's 7:30. Thank you. Be hosted and moderated by the Westfield leader. It is an important election with 1 seat in each of the 4 wards on the ballot, so please make sure you are informed and be sure to drop off your ballot. As I said, better yet, drop it in the secure ballot drop-off box in front of the clerk's office at 300 North Avenue, or vote in person on November 7th. And just in closing, we have a very exciting morning yesterday. Or was it this morning? Gosh, it felt like yesterday. It was just this morning. I want to congratulate 2 new firefighters that we are able to swear in this morning, Valerie Aguirre and Matthew Ridge, who I was able to swear in with Chief Delks. With these new firefighters joining the ranks, our fire department hits 2 milestones. One I was particularly excited about, that firefighter Valerie Aguirre is the first female firefighter in the history of the department, which is a huge milestone. Long overdue, but we're there. And also very excitedly is the fire department has reached its highest staffing level in 16 years. And I know it's something Chief Delks has been working towards, so we're thrilled to be able to offer that. And so today was like an informal swearing in so they can start work, but I do want to invite the public to the official public swearing in, which will be at our next town council meeting on October 24th. So please join us for a historic night. And then with that, in terms of tonight's agenda, we have a few notable legislative items covering the purchase of additional security cameras for the police department, as well as code review and town property resolutions addressing swimming pool enclosures and solar energy systems. So with that, let's get to work. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the town council conference and regular meetings of September 19, 2023? Moved by Councilman Mackey, second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Root. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes. Opposed? This motion is carried. Now it's time for open discussion by citizens. Anyone may come up to the microphone and speak to the council on any subject on which we have jurisdiction. Please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm going to try to do it within 5 minutes and 20 seconds. As per Linda Habgood.
5 minutes. You got you right in front of you. It's the by ordinance.
Mayor and Town Council, I stand here today ashamed and embarrassed for you. Being a parent for over 30 years, I've never neglected my duties in standing up and discerning what's right or wrong. I'm not just talking about Edison Field project and bond or One Westfield Place development plan. I'm talking about how your plans come to be and how the citizens of this town were prevented from voting by blatant, surreptitious abuse of power. You decided to change the zoning of business district to fit your master plan. Your characterization of One Westfield Place as a redevelopment plan prevented our citizens from voting on the changes you wanted. You decided to do a shared service agreement with the Board of Ed so we could not vote directly on the field project. You decided to sell some of our town land to HBC and without bids or alternatives. And recently, you stuffed our property tax bill envelopes with full-color flyers, making intimidating remarks that if the bond wasn't voted in, the children will suffer. This is a town referendum. You should have presented alternative choices of voting the bond down and explaining the full cost and downside of your proposed artificial turf as well. Mayor, you can try to close our eyes, but we can see clearly. You can try and shut us up, but we still be able to speak. The bond on the artificial turf at Edison Field is a hot topic. It was initially estimated at $9 million, then ballooned to 11.8, and by my recollection, it's now 18 over the next 15 years. Westfield Crossings has a service agreement for a pilot program, which we were told would pay for this field. The total service agreement calls for service payments income yielding only $8 million in the first 15 years, and that's a $10 million shortfall when the bond is due. Seeing this large discrepancy, I emailed Linda Habgood, who is not only the council member, but also a chairperson of the town's finance committee. Amongst other questions, I asked Linda 2 weeks ago how this discrepancy would be made up. Linda delayed her response until today, advising me that she didn't know how I came up with the $18 million cost over the first 15 years. Let me remind you, I am not a finance chairman, but I do understand that the total cost will include 11.8 for initial cost of field construction and financing costs just to issue the bond, 3 to 4 million on bond interest over the next 15 years, $500,000 in additional maintenance costs, and 2 to 3 million for replacement costs as it will wear out at least once in the first 15 years, if not more, and that's 18 million. I realize that this current administration is all about. You're about control and not right versus wrong. In the 70s, a Pepsi commercial advertisement indicated that we were the me generation. That has changed to the only me generation of today. It's apparent to me, and that it's more important to get done what you want rather than getting done what's right for all of us. You've seen the signs throughout the town utilizing the slogan, "It's for the kids." My thoughts for what the kids should be this: great syllabus, great teachers, updated technology, updated facilities, new roofs that don't leak, bathrooms that work. That's what's for the kids really means, not 18 million for an artificial field. And for the kids should be for all of us. Wouldn't that money be well served with the result of advancement of knowledge and abilities of all our children, and not just the ones who choose to play on the field, but those who have interest in other types of activities? And that resulting success could be shared by the kids and for all of us in this town. You don't have to think right or wrong about that, Mayor, do you? At the board meeting of Ed last fall, I witnessed the Board of Ed ratification of the EFP after much contention on both sides. At that meeting, David Contract, also one of our council people, spoke vociferously against the field project, voicing his opinion of the flawed CME study and the better option to redevelop our natural fields. At that same meeting, Mrs. East, one of our school board members, exclaimed that the rest of the board should vote for this proposal, saying that's a gift. I'm still waiting for Santa Claus to come down my chimney. The problem here, Mayor, is that you and the town council and certain sports teams are too invested in trying to be right than admitting you're wrong. You're concentrating on what you want and not what this town really needs. The $18 million is better spent on town projects, improving our town's natural fields and scholastic development for all the children. Why not exit your strategy of forcing a costly, environmentally unsound, harmful artificial field project and employ a more natural solution? If you and your board do not want to consider alternative options, perhaps it would be more prudent for us as citizens to realize our mistakes in voting for you and change our vote to a more democratic, transparent administration that listens, gives us choices, knows right from wrong. There will be a choice on November 7th. Vote for the new members of Town Council and vote no for the Edison Field project. Thank you.
My name is Mark Herzog. I live at 325 North Chestnut Street. Mayor Brindle, council people, and fellow residents. As I said, my name is Mark Herzog, and I've been a resident for 16 years. I've been authorized by the Westfield High School Band Parents Association to speak on their behalf. As you may or may not know, our marching band competes at a very high level every year. Just this past weekend at a competition in Piscataway, the marching band tied for the highest score of all the bands attending the event. These results, or better, are what one can consistently expect from our marching band. Why am I telling you this? The Westfield High School Marching Blue Devils practice on Edison Field. It's the only co-curricular high school class taught there. And rehearsals are 4 days per week, between 2 and 10 hours per day, more in August every year. The Marching Blue Devils always compete on turf fields, but never have the opportunity to rehearse on turf fields. Often rehearsals are canceled because of wet, slippery conditions during or after rainstorms, and during drier years, the field is a dust bowl. which makes it difficult to do any physical activity. We all know that in sports and in life, we should practice in the same environments in which we will compete. Why should the marching band not have that same benefit? Please vote yes on the Edison Field project.
Jean Lemberg, 528 Grove Street. I am a retired teacher. My comments are for our current and future children and the adults who believe they should have a safe environment and a habitable planet. They deserve to know where artificial turf originates and what it is made of. Artificial turf fields consist of many layers, most of which are hidden beneath the surface. The green part that looks like grass is actually a plastic carpet, something on the order of this one. It starts off as natural gas, which is extracted using fracking equipment, sent to a processing facility, and put through a polymerization process, eventually becoming pre-production pellets or nurdles, the feedstock of all plastics. Artificial turf manufacturers purchase nurdles. The nurdles are melted, green dye, and other toxic chemicals, including plasticizers, UV inhibitors, flame retardants, and per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, are added to the hot liquid, which is extruded to form yarn. The yarn is woven into a plastic carpet that becomes the top layer of the artificial turf field. Although any colored dye could be added to the liquid plastic, green is chosen to send the subliminal message that it is real grass, not a plastic carpet. The PFAS, which are known as forever chemicals because the carbon-fluorine bonds are nearly unbreakable, remain in the plastic carpet from cradle to grave and bioaccumulate in plants, animals, and people. PFAS and other chemical additives are endocrine-disrupting chemicals that have been linked to cancer, nervous system toxicity, immune dysfunction, infertility, obesity, and thyroid and cardiovascular diseases. On warm, sunny days, artificial turf becomes very hot, increasing the likelihood that field users will experience dehydration, heat exhaustion, burns, and blisters. The higher temperatures cause the chemicals to volatilize, creating a very unpleasant odor and health risks for field users who inhale the fumes. Plastic grass carpets contain millions of blades of plastic grass that break apart into microplastics, pieces of plastic less than 5 millimeters in length, due to the wear and tear of sports activities, UV radiation, and exposure to the elements. You can see them every day at Kaler Field. Microplastics and toxic chemicals, the toxic chemicals they contain, migrate off the field and into the soil, groundwater, storm drains, into our oceans, and eventually into us. Plastic grass carpets off-gas carbon dioxide and methane, greenhouse gases that cause rising global temperatures and climate change. Plastic grass carpets wear out and need to be replaced every 8 to 10 years and end up in landfills or incinerated, but contrary to marketing claims, are not recycled. There are no recycling facilities for artificial turf in the US. So what is the alternative? Natural grass athletic fields that have been designed to withstand sports activities and maintained using organic and regenerative practices. They are durable, safe, and virtually rainout proof. Natural grass athletic fields are free from toxic chemicals and provide cool and cushioned surfaces. They capture and store carbon dioxide in the root mass and soil. They grow stronger and more resilient as the soil health improves and cost far less to install and maintain than plastic grass over time. We do not have any natural grass athletic fields in Westfield. What we do have is minimally maintained schoolyards and parks that are forced to serve as athletic fields. Communities north of us in Massachusetts and south of us in Maryland have organically maintained natural grass athletic fields. The difference between those communities and Westfield is they have made the health and safety of people and our shared planet a priority. Westfield can and should adopt that mindset too. And in case you were wondering, this is what nurdles look like. This is what plastic grass starts as. Thank you.
Greg Lindberg, 528 Grove Street. I received a mailing about the Edison Field project with my tax statement, like I guess everybody else this week. And I'd like to add a few sections to the Edison Field by the numbers. 0, the number of grass athletic fields in Westfield that are actually designed and maintained as athletic fields. We use schoolyards and parks and call them athletic fields, but clearly they're not. Greater than 1,000. The playable hours for organically managed grass athletic fields that are properly designed and maintained by trained experts. That's 25 to 33% more than the industry benchmark cited in the newsletter. Numerous case studies support this. 47%. The percentage of field hours leased outside of Westfield that are grass fields. Apparently some grass fields are acceptable, just not ours. 100%. The portion of the remaining natural grass at Edison that's fenced in by the varsity baseball field and functionally inaccessible to EIS students. 50%. The approximate portion of stormwater drains in Westfield that flow into Robinson's Creek. Literally millions of gallons of water in a heavy rain. Field runoff is a drop in the bucket by comparison. 20,000. According to the USDA, the number of gallons of water per acre retained in soil by adding 1% organic matter. 4% would absorb 3 inches of rainwater. It doesn't take millions of dollars to manage stormwater. 34, the number of weeks per year where the demand for field use is at its peak. Most fields sit idle the rest of the year. $18 million. The approximate upfront cost of the Edison Field project, plus bond interest, plus carpet replacement and maintenance over the first 15 years of the project. $1.2 million. The annual average cost per year of the Edison Field project in the first 15 years. Do we seriously think that we cannot renovate and organically maintain top quality grass fields across town, not just the Edison property, for far less money than that, $1.2 million annually? There are alternatives to the Edison Field project. It doesn't have to be a choice between millions of dollars, environmental damage, hundreds of thousands of pounds of plastic and other toxin-containing materials on school property, or nothing. It just takes the right mindset and expertise to make it happen. And I'll use my remaining time to point out that the Administrator Gilday's work on paving the roads in town has really started to pay dividends. I appreciate all that work. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. My name is John McDevitt, 631 Summit Ave. First, I'd like to thank you all for your time and dedication to Westfield. It's a tough job, as we're seeing and usually see on these town council meetings with limited perks, but it's important for all of us to have good people willing to serve, so I appreciate that. And as a resident, although I didn't know he wouldn't be here, as a resident of Ward 3, I'd like to say a special thanks to Mark LaGrippo for his 12 years of service to our ward and the town. I've always appreciated his accessibility and commitment to Ward 3 in our town, and I'm sure I'll grab him someplace else rather than here, but a shout out to him. But I would also like to address the town council in public as president of the Westfield School Boosters Association and on behalf of the boosters. The boosters are 52 volunteers whose sole purpose is to support Westfield High School athletics, programs, and athletes. We raise money annually to upgrade equipment, facilities, and access, and provide year-end scholarships to our most deserving student athletes, all with the hope of elevating our athletes' performance and experience, and all with the help of this great community. As such, while we don't typically take a public position on ballot items, the Edison Fields project aligns with our boosters' mission and is very similar to past projects we've undertaken to improve the Westfield High School basketball court, baseball field, and soon-to-be improvements on the softball fields. This project is obviously on a scale much bigger and requires the support of the town, but it aligns with our mission and we are fully supportive. As boosters, we regularly interact with Westfield High School admin, coaches, and athletes, and consistently hear of the need for improved fields. That said, we need both improved grass and more turf fields. As has been discussed, the turf fields help with the volume of activity and with the ability to continue to practice, have games during inclement weather. And we agree that the additional turf fields at Edison are required before enhancing the grass fields. So it's not an either or with this Edison project. It is a beginning of a concerted effort to improve the fields for our athletes in town. These improvements will have a direct benefit on our girls' flag field hockey, girls' flag football, softball, baseball, football, soccer, and lacrosse programs. In addition, it will help the Westfield High School bands and various youth sports programs, which all feed our Westfield High School athletic programs, and help make Westfield High School one of the premier high school athletic programs in the state. The Westfield Boosters strongly support the Edison Fields ballot question and recommend that you vote yes for this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, I close public comments and thank everybody for all of your comments as it relates to Edison Fields. I actually do want to address many of those comments and some of the misinformation that's been flying around, and quite frankly, some of it presented this evening. You know, I too tend to still get information about residents. There was also a flyer I know that was put around by the opponents with information which I do want to talk about specifically. Mr. Goodman, your comment about $18 million. I actually do want to, there's been a lot of questions about financing and why this is a project that is very affordable by the town relative to what we are accustomed to in terms of servicing debt. So no one knows our history and experience in managing this better than Jim Gilday. So I'm actually going to ask Jim to speak specifically to the financing of Edison Fields, how it's going to be financed, and the impact it has on the town and taxpayers. So Jim, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've discussed this before, but I think it's important just to get a little context. So we've said this all along since 2020, I guess. We've been talking about this, 2021. We plan on funding this project in 3 different ways. First, with pilot revenues from Westfield Crossing, which will offset a portion of annual debt service over time. Second of all, our well-managed debt service, our AAA rating, and I'll get into a little more about that, but that's important. And three, if indeed this is approved on the ballot, capital campaign that will actually go forth seeking grants and sponsorships. So let me just go through these three things quickly. So the pilot agreement we have at Westfield Crossing, we said this from day one in this field project, that that money coming in, which doesn't come in all at once, it comes in piecemeal over the years, and it doesn't start until Westfield Crossing starts getting certificates of occupancy, COs. And it won't come in all one lump sum, like I said, it'll come in over time. But that any little bit every year, which will grow over time, will offset annual costs in the budget for debt service for this project. The Westfield pilot payments, again, payments of taxes that will come in, expect to yield about $20 million over a 30-year period from Westfield Crossing. Again, not all at one time, will ramp up over time. I'll get back to that in a minute. So again, that helps to offset the burden on each and every calendar year that we have debt service payments in the budget. Two, well-managed debt service. So I've been doing this now for 22 years. One of the things that we take great pride in with this council and all the previous councils before this that I've worked with, we manage debt service very strategically. And whenever we've had bond rating reports that have been issued to the town by S&P or Moody's in the past, the well-managed debt service is one of the highlights that they actually usually tout because of our debt service ratio to budget and how we manage it. So just give you an example. So this project there's $11.8 million authorized for this project. We don't know yet what the actual cost will be. We've estimated that, and as we've said before, we've added a lot of extra money into the bond authorization to provide flexibility for choosing the best material for the field, for doing additional stormwater management, and for doing the design DEP, design cost and construction management cost, and the DEP required permits that will be required if this gets adopted for stormwater management. So those are all extra costs we have built into that budget or authorization. If indeed this does get approved on the ballot, what will end up happening is we will then authorize a contract to do the design, surveying, DEP permits, et cetera, for the project. The design will then dictate what the bid spec will be, that will be bid out. And that bid spec will dictate then, obviously what bids we'll get back from vendors to construct this project. We could have bids that come in much lower than we've anticipated. We might have something that comes in higher. We think this is a very good, educated guess, which has been confirmed by outside expertise in this marketplace. That being said, $11.8 million what we have authorized. That's all it is authorized at this point. We've spent no money, we have no approval to do the project, and so forth. If we have approval to do the project, we'll move forward with, again, design work, and we're only going to have debt service in each and every budget year on money we've spent. So likely, if we authorize money in November, if this gets adopted, of course, gets passed by the referendum, we'll do some design work that will start later this year and go into next year. Next year, obviously, if indeed everything goes forward, we'd like to actually probably start constructing the field next year. It likely wouldn't be done until the spring of 2025. Weather conditions, working with the school, figuring out what the proper time frame is, design time frames, DEP approvals, all those things factor in. So we're not going to have to actually issue debt service for the entire project in any one year. So that's important because in each calendar year, the budget is affected by debt service issued the year prior. So right now, there's basically likely going to be very little, if no debt service for this project in 2024, even though it gets adopted or it gets approved by referendum. In addition to that, it's important to note that the town has a lot of mechanisms at its disposal under municipal finance laws that we use to smooth out or manage our debt service on an annual basis. So one of our large things we use very often is what's called bond anticipation notes. And this is not just for this project, we do this for everything. We do road projects every year. Thank you, Mr. Lindberg. I'm not paving myself, but we are in charge of a lot of paving. But paving is a good example. We authorize $2 to $3 million a year in capital projects. $2 million is usually for paving. And we do a lot of it, as you see, a lot of it's being done at no cost to us as well due to utility work. But we have to manage that cost every year. We do special projects too. We buy equipment, all these things we do. So we will factor those costs in with a project like this in, and then we will decide on an annual basis what the best thing for the town is. Finance committee does a lot of that work. Town council approves it. to not have huge ups and downs and swings in debt service. We try to do that for all of our costs. Some costs we don't have control over. We get a pension bill, you gotta pay the pension bill. If it goes up by $1 million, down by $1 million, you have no control of that. Debt service, you have some control over. So bond anticipation notes are something we use to get us through a window of time to manage our debt, keep our debt service flat. So for some context, we've carried about $3.1 million of debt for the past 5 to 6 years on each year's budget. That's at the same time we've had actually unusually low tax increases during that same number of years. So the debt service is not a direct correlation to tax increase because we're able to control that. And that's by use of other revenue sources, surplus, et cetera. To give you another example, or something we're planning for this project and all of our other capital projects, we also already know, the CFO and I are working on working knowledge that we have a debt service drop-off in 2028. We know that based upon where we are right now. So now we know that in 2024, 5, 6, and 7, those 4 years, which is not uncommon, 3 and 4 year windows is not uncommon to manage debt. Whatever, if this does get approved by referendum, this will be added to our annual debt service. We will then use bond anticipation notes. We'll use pilot money that we get in to offset each year's debt service by a portion. We'll seek contributions from leagues. There's already been interest from leagues that want to contribute to this project, if indeed it does pass. And other potential revenue sources. We just mentioned earlier tonight, Mayor, the senior housing litigation. That was unexpected. That's not a bad thing for the town. Doesn't mean it's going towards this project, but what it means is we have much more financial flexibility for many different things going forward for the next number of years. So I want to reassure the public in my role, at least as administrator, that I take this very seriously. Managing debt service for the town, is that something we can control? And as Linda Havgood, the chairwoman knows, there's not a lot of things we can control. So when you have something you can control in the budget, we make a very specific point to do that as best we can. And we've had no big swings in any year, no matter what we've done from a debt service, and this will be no different. And we'll manage this in a way that it doesn't have a tax impact to the residents because of the things you mentioned, Mayor, pilot agreements or pilot money coming in, other revenue sources, and of course, bond anticipation notes we have at our disposal.
And so just to reiterate, because I think what you said is super important, this project will not materially increase our debt service and impact taxpayers in a way that maybe some have led them to believe.
That's correct. We have a lot of resources at our disposal. Again, 2 other things to mention, just important. I've been doing this a long time, so is our CFO, but it's not just us. We have a finance committee, but also, most importantly, we have a very seasoned bond counsel. We're working with us for over 30 years. We have a financial advisor company that does the same thing, and we do this every single budget cycle. No matter what's on our plate, we manage it and we strategically manage it to make sure there's no big spikes in debt service. That's our job, and I think we've done it very well, and the AAA rating continues to show that.
Thank you. And let me just take a few minutes to address some of the other comments I think that were made tonight, because I do want to put the facts out there. Just some things in terms of questions that you mentioned tonight and that I know that are circulating around town. This comment about Edison students' access to natural grass for lunch or recess or PE. It's, just important to remind everybody that Edison students have these activities held on Kaler Field for quite some time. This is not an arrangement that is driven by Edison Field. So them spending these times on turf already exists today, much of it driven by the condition of Edison Fields and quite frankly, how wet they are. If you talk to the principal over there, because the rain, even we've had so much rain, the rain lasts way longer in Edison than it does anywhere else. Also, this comment about injuries and heat related to turf. Houlihan, Sidfay, and Kaler Fields were built in 2005 and 6 respectively, so going on close to 20 years, with the latter resurfaced as early as 2019. In those 18 years, we have not heard of any notable disruptions of use due to surface heat, and have not heard any concerns from anybody raised from the leagues or school athletic terms about increased injuries to turf. Never, ever, ever on any of those existing turf fields. We have, however, heard about injuries from playing on overused grass fields that turn into packed dirt late into team season. Now, the concerns over Robinson's Branch, which come up consistently, as we've said many times, this project is as much a stormwater management project as it is a recreation project, and it is expected to significantly improve stormwater runoff for this neighborhood and reduce the risk of flooding with new properly designed drainage. Due to its proximity to Robertson's Branch Creek, the entire design plan must be approved by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection before it moves forward. And any plan will not only have to improve stormwater runoff from current conditions, but it also has to meet the state's most updated flood protection requirements, or it simply will not get approved. Because this is an area of priority in the project, the town actually increased its investment capacity in the bond ordinance. It's one of the reasons it went up, to ensure that all appropriate measures can be taken to address stormwater in this area. Now, natural grass usage, which everybody brings up, I quite frankly am really surprised to see everyone continue to claim that natural grass athletic fields are, in their words, virtually rain-out proof and do not need to be rested, which was said notoriously in the flyer that's going around town. It's contrary to what we've experienced not only in this rainy past month, but also in every finding we've encountered over the last 2 years, both professional and anecdotal. And it specifically counters the Westfield Soccer Association's current experience managing the Elm Street field and their recently formed partnership with the Board of Ed. That field was out of service for the entire fall of 2022 and had limited usage in spring of 2023, only for training and for 9-player teams. Beginning this fall through the end of 2024, half of the entire partnership, the WSA has scheduled only 9x9 and 7x7 games on the field because of the issues that they've had in terms of how temperamental they are. Usage is monitored based upon the impact of rainfall, and in the spring, about 15% of the scheduled days were canceled due to wet conditions. And considering how much rain we've had almost every weekend in this fall, that has only continued. Now, many of us like to cite other communities that actually have organic natural grass fields. We have yet to identify a single municipality in the state of New Jersey that relies primarily or solely on natural grass athletic fields. One of the few components that people like to cite is Springfield, Massachusetts, where several case studies have been written about the use of organic natural grass athletic fields. Since those case studies were written, the city of Springfield has begun construction of an artificial turf complex serving middle and high school football, soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse, as well as lighting, bleachers, restrooms, and a concession stand. The mayor of Springfield, who is quoted as saying the project will benefit our community and enhance the quality of life for our neighborhoods, was photographed just 6 days ago at the new site as it nears completion. Its cost is $14 million, and notably, $250,000 of that was provided by the New England Patriots. As we said time and time again, in spite of what you don't want to believe, adding turf is critical to alleviating the current overuse of grass fields that already exist. Maintaining existing natural grass fields without the supplement of a lighted turf field to relieve some usage capacity is not a prudent use of our dollars. A conclusion that was echoed in conversations with Somerset County and South Orange, New Jersey, two of the places that were cited by your experts as places that have successfully had grass field programs. And it's of course to remember, importantly, that with the addition of Edison Fields, the town's fields location will still be approximately 85% natural grass. Now, many have also stated that the town is not investing in projects with broad appeal, as if Edison Fields is draining resources from other initiatives in town. I'm glad that our innovative cell tower solution is going to be providing for restrooms and other needed upgrades. I mentioned earlier about Houlihan Sidfay, complementing the Memorial Field restrooms we've installed, along with the full replacement of Windsor Playground and fencing at Mindowaskin Playground, among other improvements. Edison Fields is one component, albeit a larger one, of a much broader strategic parks plan. It is not either or. The first step in addressing our field shortage allows us the greatest and most immediate additional capacity to benefit the largest number of user groups. So there are also many good neighbor measures that we'll be taking on the site that are going to address concerns about traffic and noise mitigation, which we can address. But again, all of this information is available on the FAQ, and I appreciate the opportunity to address them tonight. So with that, we'll get on to the agenda. Councilwoman Hapgood, let's move on to the portion bills and claims.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move bills and I'd like to move bills and claims in the amount of $640,050.88.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Contract. All in favor? Yes. Opposed? This motion is carried. Next on the agenda is reports of standing committees, beginning with the Finance Policy Committee. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you again, Mayor. I have 8 resolutions I'd like to move as a package. The first, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant to replenish the bulk mail permit. The second, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund Recreation Department fees. Third, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund dumpster security payment. 4, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for dog licenses for September 2023. 5, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant to refund street opening cash bond. 6, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant to the Treasurer, State of New Jersey for marriage/civil union licenses fees. 7, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for third quarter construction officials state permit fees for 2023. And 8, a resolution authorizing the tax collector to participate in an electronic tax sale.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Root. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion has carried. Next is the Public Safety Transportation Parking Committee. Councilwoman Root.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This is fantastic. I would like to move a resolution authorizing the purchase of security cameras for the Westfield Police Department.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion has carried. Next, Code Review and Town Property Committee. Councilman Parmalee.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd first like to move a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the settlement and lease agreements related to the Westfield Senior Citizen Housing Corporation litigation.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Dardia. Any discussion?
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I really think the public should know how hard not only our town officials, but 2 of our council members worked on this, Parmalee and Hapgood. And you guys, most people don't know how hard we work behind the scenes, but these 2 worked extra hard on this for years to do what was right for the town. And we could have settled, but it was the wrong thing to do. And they pushed it, and you guys worked hard in concert with Jim and with Tom to really come out with an amazing settlement for the town, despite a lot of political backlash. I don't know if everybody remembers.
We don't need to rehash.
So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the residents.
Well, thank you, David.
Because this is really a big win for the town and for you.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Parmalee,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey. Yes. Contract,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Root,
Yes.
Mayor Brindle.
Yes. This motion has carried.
Next, I'd like to move a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a settlement agreement related to the cell tower installation litigation.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Dardia. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Parmalee,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey. Yes. Contract,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Root,
Yes.
Mayor Brindle.
Yes. This motion has carried.
I'd also like to move general ordinance number 2023-30 on first reading, an ordinance repealing redundant provisions regarding the enclosure of private swimming pools.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Parmalee,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey. Yes. Contract,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Root,
Yes.
Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
I'd also like to move general ordinance number 2023-31 on first reading, an ordinance to amend the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield in regard to swimming pool enclosures.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Katz. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Parmalee,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey. Yes. Contract,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Root,
Yep.
Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
And then lastly, credit to Councilman Contract. I'd like to move general ordinance number 2023-32 on first reading, an ordinance amending the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield relating to the installation of solar energy systems.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Contract. Any discussion?
I just have a quick comment, so thank you, Councilman Parmalee. I really want to thank the Green Team. Sorry. I really want to thank the Green Team. Again, there are a lot of volunteers in this town. The Green Team has a number of them who have really tried to make solar panel installation easier for residents. This is a step towards that, and I appreciate the council's support, hopefully, tonight to enact this.
Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hacker? Yes. Carlin?
Yes.
Yes.
Mackey? Yes. Contract?
Yes.
Guardia?
Yes.
Yes. Mayor Brindle?
Yes, this motion is carried. Next is the Public Works Committee, Councilman Katz.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move a resolution authorizing an award of contract for the 2023 leaf collection program.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Root. Any discussion? This motion is carried. And before we adjourn, I do want to hand it over to Councilman Mackey, who has some very important updates for us.
Yes, thank you to everybody who has reached out and inquired about Adams Fest. We are kicking off this weekend with a really incredible art exhibit featuring the work of not only Charles Adams, but Edward Gorey, and I highly recommend everybody get downtown to 122 Elm to take in the sights. And I want to mention that we had said our family fun day would be rain or shine, but seeing the weekend looks like a complete washout, we are working on an indoor contingency plan. So please stay tuned and follow along. We are hoping to keep the festivities going. Lots going on all month. Please check out adamsfest.com, and we look forward to seeing you around town.
And the windows seem particularly.
The windows are pretty great, so I hope you get out there, see the windows, and spend some money in our local shops.
Every year they up their game, it seems. Jim?
So I meant to say it before, I just wanted to say, on behalf of Public Works, thank you for the loaders. If on this agenda, the resolution that Scott Katz just put forth, we're only renting 2 loaders this year versus our normal 5. And that's because we lease loaders that we have used for use all year long. And actually, it's saving money for the town, obviously, from a rental perspective and an hourly rate, which is great. So thank you again for that. And is there something?
Yes, I was told we had not yet voted on that. So
Okay, well,
I got ahead of myself.
thank you for the anticipated vote on that.
Okay, exactly. So, okay, I would like to, did you make that move on the resolution?
I believe we need to vote.
I think I may have a second?
We are set.
Okay, okay. You know why? It's missing. Oh,
Blame
boy.
me, though.
Okay, exactly. Okay, let's, we roll call? Okay.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. Voted, thank you, forgot that part. May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Councilman Mackey, second? Second by Councilman Contract, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, this motion is carried, and this meeting is adjourned. Oh, that's
Thank you.
different. That was